Hello, fellow bookworms. It is I, Michelle the Bookworm. Um, and in this video, I'd kind of like to talk about some of my goals for 2020. The big 2020 is upon us. A lot of people didn't think we'd make it this far, but I'm pretty excited. This past year has kind of been crazy. I ended up going into the career of education, losing my first education job, and then currently I am working like the best job I've ever had as an educational assistant. And amidst all the trials and tribulations that is finding that perfect job and like being with friends and family and all the crazy stuff that happens in one's life, I've actually managed to read quite a bit. So I want to go over first last year's goals. Last year, my goal, I kind of broke it down into sections. So in general, I wanted to use my time more efficiently. Which means like less time procrastinating and less time like being on my phone. I still feel like I do this. Like I don't feel like I really use my time as efficiently as I could, but I feel like I've done pretty well. Um, I could definitely work more on this. I tend to put things off until the last minute. This video, for instance, was supposed to be filmed on the 2nd, and it's now the 7th. Whoops. Um, and so another thing that I said was that I'd like to set realistic goals, which I feel like I do that now. I feel like I set realistic goals, and I'm not also not being too hard on myself when my video ends up being 5 days late. I'm really, really proud of my reading goals. So my reading goals for last year, as you probably know, was to read 24 books. And I was originally going to read 14 classic books and 10 modern books. I don't think I did that. I think I read a lot more modern books than I did classic books. But that's also because I found like I was exploring the types of books that I was into. Um, I also wanted to take place in a classic literature challenge, and I also wanted to take place in a Goodreads reading challenge. Um, I feel like my classic literature challenge has been limited to my poster that I have on my wall, which is 100 essential books that you should read in your lifetime. But I've actually been on top of my Goodreads reading challenge, particularly since I joined a book club on Goodreads. They've been keeping me updated on different, they usually have a book of the month that I've been reading. I don't always write about it, just because I don't always give myself that time, but I do generally read it. And so I feel like I'm doing better about that. My other goal for last year was included BookTube. My goal was to do 2 videos a month, which, some months were better than others. And I know there was a long part of large chunk of time, especially after the readathon, that I was like solely focused on getting my stuff together for being a brand new teaching assistant, and I apologize for that. I just really had to get it together. As some of you may or may not know, I teach 2 electives. I also, as a teaching assistant, I also teach yearbook and art. So learning how to be a teacher, how to lesson plan is something that was difficult for me and is still difficult for me. It's still something that I'm working on, and that just took a lot of my time. over the past couple of months. And another thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to use BookTube to connect more, and I feel like I've actually been doing this a little bit more. I'm generally a very shy person, so it's kind of harder for me to like reach out and talk to people that I don't really know, especially over the internet. It's I feel like I've come out of my shell a little bit, but and I've connected with more people, but I feel like it's like a doorway, and I think that the more that I get comfortable like being a presence on YouTube, the more comfortable I will be showing myself and like being a presence on YouTube and connecting with people more, which I'm excited about. I honestly love talking with people about books, and that's the whole reason why I need to keep in mind that that's the whole reason why I started this channel, was to connect with people about really awesome books. And like I need to like keep in mind that that's what people want, and that's what other people like. People want to connect with me. Like I think that's where I'm at right now, is that I don't think people want to connect with me, that like I'll say something really stupid and people will be like, oh, this girl's really freaking weird. Anyway, maybe I'm going on too long about this, but I need to get out of that mindset, basically. And so that's one of the goals that I have for this year. Speaking of which, so those were my goals for last year. This year's goals, I have also broken up into general reading and BookTube. So in general, I would like to utilize my time more efficiently. Like I said, I've gotten better at this, but I can definitely improve. And instead of doing like really rushed last minute reviews, or like spending time playing like my puzzle games, I could be writing out really decent quality reviews and actually spending time to giving myself that luxury of reading that I don't always feel like I've earned the right to read, because there's so many other things that I know I could be doing, especially with lesson plans. Like, lesson plans are never perfect. There's always something else I could be doing. But like letting myself know that I've earned that time to let myself relax, and like relaxing is reading. I'm pointing to my I'm pointing to my stack of books over here that you obviously can't see. Yeah, that's how I do. So yeah, I'd like to utilize my time more efficiently. I'd also like to expand on my genres. So this year, one thing I'm really, really proud about is that I branched out and I read The Lost Girls of Paris by Pam Jenoff, and it opened up my eyes to this whole genre of historical fiction that I had no idea. Like, I never thought that I would enjoy historical fiction. I never liked history growing up. Never enjoyed it. So I think it's really interesting that I'm like interested in this genre that I've never thought I would be. And so now my goal is to branch out and see what other genres I'm interested in. I've added a section to my log, my reading log. I have a reading log from Goodreads, and to add like what genre of the book am I reading. So at the end of the year, I can kind of like gauge and see the different genres that I primarily read that year. Yeah. Last year I started reading historical fiction. This year I don't know, I'm possibly thinking about delving into romance, which is another genre that I never thought that I'd enjoy reading ever. I've never liked romance, except for Twilight. I was a twihard in high school. I know a lot of you have lost respect for me at this point. It was a phase, okay? Everybody was doing it. So yeah, those are my general reading goals. So um, the number of books in general, my reading goal, as you know, last year my reading goal was 24 books a year, so that means 2 books a month. Um, sorry, excuse me. And so this year I would like to read 36 books, which means I will be reading 3 books a month. I'm not going to divvy them up into classical or modern books because honestly, I have to read 36 books. I'm going to read what I want to read. um, yeah, and that's and I'm thinking about but I'm still thinking about branching out. I'm still want to do some romance possibly, and seeing what else other things I kind of like. Maybe delving back into sci-fi. Like I know I used to love sci-fi, and now like I barely ever read it. Why? Um, yeah, so I'm really excited to kind of like test my boundaries this year. Um, and so I also have some goals for BookTube. I would like to get into a routine. Uh, the the big R word. I'd like to get into a actual routine of doing 2 videos a month. Last year it was really really difficult for me to do that, and it's probably going to be even more difficult this year now that I have on some more added responsibilities. But I now that I'm like kind of more in a healthier mindset, I see this uh, booktube channel as more of something fun to do, something to share with people. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that if I keep that mentality, I'll be able to do 2 videos a month. Um, I'd like to do one that's, um, and that doesn't include my TBR or anything like that. So that's like 2 videos on top of my TBR. Um, and so it'll probably be like a book review or something, an opinion about one book that I have read. It might also be an unboxing depending on however many more books I get. So yeah, those kind of things. I'll try to think of more um, themes and stuff that I can do. Just some stuff that can be fun. Maybe I don't know, do a reading challenge and film about that. Um, and that kind of also gets into my next goal for BookTube, which is editing. One dream that I have is of like filming my readathon progress throughout the day and then editing the video into like one whole video. But I think my computer that I have isn't really great for doing that. It's just a really crappy like $200 Asus. Its screen is literally like cracked. You can see that. um, so it's awful, and I'm hoping to get a new computer this year with tax returns. Fingers crossed. Um, and that way I can upload a decent editing program, and that way I can start like editing my videos instead of it being this whole big awkward long video with all the hms and ha's about it. Um, yeah, so that'll be pretty cool. I am absolutely not tech savvy at all, so this will be an adventure. um, Another idea that I'd like to do for a goal for BookTube is I'd like to set up a decent background. I don't have a bookshelf, and like I said recently, I don't think me getting a bookshelf at this point is a good idea necessarily because my aspiration is to travel at some point. So I think my goal is to set up some type of pretty background that has books in it in the setting. I'm sorry, my screen just went blank. that has like books featured in it, so it looks kind of bookish, but it's not a bookshelf. And I'll have to think a little bit more about that. Right now I'm in my roommate's room, and he uses this as a gaming streaming channel. So definitely not bookish. So I'm gonna have to brainstorm a bit. Anyway, so those are my goals for this year. I'm pretty excited about them. I feel that they're pretty reasonable. And I'm honestly just really excited for 2020. Like I feel like this is going to be a good year too. I know that everybody says that, but I really feel like 2020 is, I don't know, I feel really optimistic about this year. That being said, I would like to end this video by doing my January TBR. This video is going to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible. So for my January TBR, I'm going to first start with my Goodreads books. So last last week, I started reading Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Michael? I have no idea how to say that. Basically, it's 3 stories that are kind of intermingled, and it's about 3 like holiday romances, and they're all kind of intertwined. I've read the first one, and it was really, really sweet, and I absolutely loved it. And the second one is playing out to be pretty sweet as well, and it's all on the same. It's written by 3 different authors, but it's all on the same timeline. It's all on the same story, and some of it all has the same characters as well. So it's pretty adorable. It's sweet. It's cozy. I'll say that. I like that word. It's cozy. The next book that I have on my stack is another Goodreads read, and that is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is about a young boy or a young girl named Marie who ends up who lives during World War II, and she ends up going blind. Now, as she's going blind, her father has allowed her to memorize the city. And so she's memorized the city, but then she gets separated and loses her parents. And then she meets Werner, who grew up in a mining town, and he ran away from Hitler Youth, and he's on the run, and he runs into Marie. So they're kind of all about their time together trying to survive in this World War II era where it's like she's going blind and he's leading her, but he's also on the run. It sounds very interesting. I'm really excited to read it. It is thick. It is a thick boy. It's 530 pages, so it's definitely something that I'm going to have to binge during a weekend or something. But I'm pretty excited. It's, again, not something I would ever think to pick up. So that's kind of like what I'm going for right now, is books that I don't generally pick up. Speaking of books that I don't generally pick up, the next book that I have on my list is my personal novel that I've been trying to get through, and that's Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I started this back in November, and if any of you know me on a personal level, you know that when I start a book, I have to finish it. And I heard so much hype about Gone Girl, and I thought it was going to be so good, but honestly, I don't know. I'm going to reserve my further comments about this book for when I finish it, and I will probably do a review on it. Like, I have a coworker who absolutely loves this book, and it's one of her favorites, and I'm just, so far it's not living up to the hype, but I have to finish it, because that's what I do. So that's going to be another goal that I have this month, and this is another thick boy that is going to take some time and dedication. And so, the next book that I don't actually have on me because it's an audiobook. I generally like to listen to an audiobook while I go to bed at night. So for this month, I'm going to be listening to The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. This is a book that's been on my 100 Essential Books to Read poster, and now I'm going to be listening to that. I don't think it's very long. I think it's only got like about 8 chapters, but every chapter is like half an hour, so I think it should only be about 4 hours long. I'd have to double check that. And last but certainly not least, the other book that I'm going to be continuing with, I'm not going to be finishing this book by any means this month, or even this year, is Harry Potter et la Coupe de Feu. For those of you who have been following me, I am a French speaker. Je parle le français. Si tu voulais parler avec moi et tu connais le français, écris-moi a message. So yeah, I'm currently reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in French, and this past year, I think I got this last year, and I'm currently on page 163. So it's happening slowly but surely. I have to kind of be in the mindset for it, and each page takes me about 10 minutes to read. Yeah, I feel like I'm reading this as like a third grader all over again. So I will hopefully make some progress on this month as well. Anyway, that is my goal. So that is my goal for 2020, and my reading goal, my reading TBR for January. And so my end of the video question is, what are your goals for 2020? What were your goals last year, and what are your goals this year? Is your goal to read more of a specific genre? Is your goal to read 10 books over the course of the year? What are your plans? Anyway, thank you so much for hanging in there with me, and I really hope to hear from you. All right, read on.